That might be a problem. He's gonna want to talk about it.
We got Dan on speaker over here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Orders of the day. Need a motion to open a public hearing on video conferencing, and what that is for the village of Lowville to be able to do a local law that would allow us to do video conferencing. Like in the case tonight, Danny's out sick. He can listen, but he can't vote, but if we have a local law passed, then he can vote. So,
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing, man.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody got any questions on that?
Yeah, does that mean that it would always have our regular meeting like the way it is now? It would be only for those circumstances like vacation or on their work and they can't make it? That's the only way. We wouldn't abolish this to be able to do it all video count?
No, we'd still have our regular meeting. That was just, like I say, like, he's out sick tonight, but he's able to listen to the meeting. But if we had that, then he wanted to vote on a motion, he could. And he could do it either via phone or we could do a Zoom.
Right, when COVID was here, New York State allowed us to do that.
Yeah, I know we were doing it.
Yeah,
I just hate to miss your smiling faces.
Thank you, Dick.
Appreciate that.
And I haven't studied it, but I looked it over, and that's just, from my understanding, it's just for the elected officials to allow them the voting
Yes.
rights, like you said. It's, yeah, there's no change to what we normally would do. I guess still a public hearing, but my thought is, I mean, it's a little bit mixed. I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea for certain circumstances. I just also think that there's a commitment level you have when you run for office that you ought to be able to make at least, the majority of the meetings. But, yeah, I mean, sickness or
Well, I think everybody does want to, but I mean,
unforeseen circumstances happen.
we've had it happen 2 meetings ago where a person was exposed to COVID and couldn't be here.
Right. It helps with the quorum.
Would have been able to vote and everything. We're just starting, James, the public hearing on the video conferencing, so I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, or?
I can give you a quick background if you'd like. It might help the public. So we've really got New York State open meetings law. The goal is to have all meetings conducted openly for transparency and for good business. But the reality is from time to time it's difficult for people to attend. People might be held up for unforeseen circumstances, things like that. And so what New York State has really done is said, look, the better reasoned approach might be to say, still conduct your business in public the way you do now in person, but give you that opportunity that if for some reason, if unforeseen circumstances prevent you from attending, then you can still attend remotely through the video conferencing. And if you do that, at the same time, the public can participate by remote video conferencing. So you're not required to do that, but if you wish to do so, you can. It's just an additional option. I'm seeing probably a majority of the towns and villages are taking advantage of that. The intent still is to do everything in person if possible.
Does there still have to be a quorum at the public meeting?
Yeah, now there's a lot of twists and turns with it. So a few things. First of all, you still would need a quorum physically present here. Okay, so you got to have 3 or 5 members here to start with. You can extend this remote video conferencing to planning boards, ZBAs as well, or you can limit it just to the village board. That's up to you. But there's some little flexibility with it. But it's not intended to be available. If someone says, look, I'm gonna be gone for 5 months to go to Florida for the winter months, and I wanna do everything remotely, the intent is no. It's supposed to be for unforeseen circumstances.
Clears up my question.
So any other public got any questions on that? All right, we'll leave that open then and move on. Approval of minutes of the January 18th regular board meeting.
I'll make a motion if there's no additions, deletions, corrections to approve those minutes from January 18th.
And a second.
I wasn't here, so.
Oh, okay, I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
You have to excuse me? You have to excuse me?
Approval of vouchers. Vouchers, the amounts are general fund, $147,347.48. Water fund, $121,833.88. Sewer fund, $19,119.28. Flushing up toilets, I guess. And capital fund, $159,528.88. And I make the motion that all those bills get paid.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Unfinished business, phase 2 wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Anything on that?
Yeah, just a quick update. There's just been some small odds and ends work at the plant over the last month. Some demo work in the old blower buildings, some electrical work in the new buildings, reinstallation of some of the old aeration lines. Today, a few of the contractors were on site looking at installing a new baffle, or reinstalling the old baffle. And then tomorrow, we have a call at DFC about financial closing. You guys still good with that time?
Yeah, I was trying to change it, but they said they couldn't, so.
And then the bond resolution, estoppel permissive referendum period, they're still going on right now. That'll be going on till March. So.
Yeah, I can't do the estoppel till the 18th.
That's all I got for wastewater. So.
Okay, also along with municipal solutions, that we need to do a contract amendment, mainly because the sewer project's going past when we thought we'd ever done. So everybody see a copy of that amendment? So basically, we need a motion to authorize me to sign that contract amendment.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Groundwater development, how will,
Yeah, I don't have any update on that one. Really, nothing happened up there over the last month. So, yeah, just waiting for the spring really for them to get going more.
the big holdup on that is the electrical components we're waiting on, right?
Yep, that's definitely one of the holdups too.
All the equipment, all the equipment in the building, I mean, it's
I mean,
all,
the pumps are in the wells, the pipes laid, everything's back to the building, it's just a matter of being able to fire everything up.
that's right, yep.
Street lighting LED conversion program, we're still waiting to get the 3 new lights installed. Other than that, I think we're okay. Did you have anything, Nick, on those nodes where they were gonna make readjustments to the municipalities?
With the
Whether-
smart city technology
Yeah.
stuff. So that was only for communities who had applied for the smart city technology grant funds. They could take that money and reapply it towards the asset management notes. But I talked to Scott Burgo the other day, and he said we can start closing out that local government efficiency grant, so.
Ongoing garage and yard sales, you have any comments on that? Basically, the county came back and
They came back
They
and,
didn't want codes to enforce that. right?
well, it's not that they didn't want codes to enforce it, that what they said was that if it were enforced by the code official or zoning officer or whatever it was enforced by, which I think it said zoning officer here, right? Come on.
Yeah, it says zoning officer.
Then it should be in the zoning law. It shouldn't be in the village code. That was their comment. And of course, any law has to have enforcement, so if the zoning officer is actually, like in our office, we're doing zoning and codes for the village,
Well, I think-
then I agree with that, I guess.
But didn't we think at one point, Joe had wrote this up for us originally,
Okay.
that maybe that could come out of there and we could just set something up like where we have with our lawn and snow removal?
We can, yeah, I mean,
And then we would be handling it, wouldn't have to go through codes office.
Would they have it as a standalone provision then?
What?
A standalone local law? Yeah, you could do it that way.
Can we revise it so much?
I haven't looked at it, I wasn't asked to take a look at it, I could take a look at it, but my instinct is the text is gonna be the same, other than you'll certainly have to have the preliminary information that's administered and enforced by.
I think what we're maybe looking for, and if I'm wrong, let me know, Tim, that nothing would really happen unless we received a complaint from somebody. And like now, like, local laws are on the books will say you don't shovel your sidewalk, we get a complaint, we send them a letter, and then they don't take care of it. We do and charge them, and the same with grass in the summertime.
Mhm.
So something along that line where we'd have to get a complaint and then the village would act on it.
Okay. I've dealt with that topic with different municipalities. To be honest with you, it's routinely a standalone provision that I run into. It's not really a zoning matter.
Basically, we want it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And we don't really have a lot of problems, but there are a few people that seem to think they can have them 365 days a year. So
or stuff for sale.
And some of us, but
So there's some revisions to do on it, is what you're saying.
yep.
So you're gonna look at that?
Yep, I'll take a look at it. You want it as a standalone provision to be administered and enforced right here by the village. Who in the village specifically is gonna be?
That's my question. Who would be enforcing it, or would it be the village itself? I mean, like, right now, if they don't show their sidewalks or whatever, the letter comes from the
Me. Correct.
DPW,
Yeah.
but would the DPW wanna be messing with garage sales or whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, we're out there all the time, so we're gonna be able to see them, you know, and if we get a complaint, yeah. And then, let's say, do it through.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be.
My department.
Right.
Then DPW then?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys are all right with that.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Trying to see what we had.
For a penalty,
Yeah,
it was
Was it
$25.
yeah. I don't know, my thought is that should be enforced by, I would think, our local police department issuing the summons, but I don't know. Because they can issue tickets, the DPW can't.
But when we do sidewalks, it comes from our office now for fees and stuff. Like when we send out the letter, it's our clerk's office that does the penalty of, I think it's like $250 or something. So I guess it would work the same way, right? We could just make a standardized letter like we have for the sidewalk lot, and then it would just come from, I guess, you or our office signing it, because we would take in the money for it anyway.
So the sidewalk is a fee
It-
more than it is a ticket?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Because then if our DP, like if someone doesn't do their sidewalk, the village can go do it, and then we can re-levy it to them if they don't pay it. So I don't know if that's the way, like, we could make this work.
Well, and see, that's the point. So apparently what you're doing is your sidewalk questions, those are administered and enforced by the DPW, but apparently they're charged. If they don't pay it, then it's just assessed as and levied as unpaid taxes. So that's handled essentially civilly. Now, if your garage sales, if your intent is that failure to cooperate means that they could be charged with an offense and would need to be before the justice court, that's a different ballgame. That would be a police department issue. That could not be handled by, it's gotta be a police officer, peace officer, constable, something like that. So you couldn't do that if that's what you're going to be from a penalty standpoint. If it's a civil penalty, different ballgame. So that's, I guess I'm kind of curious how you want to handle that.
What's your suggestion on handling, what would be best?
Police is easiest. I mean, it is.
Sorry, Randy.
I don't make, no, it's just that that's what they do. I mean, they routinely will handle these types of matters. And if you're looking at a fine, then they would be the ones, normally.
And I get what Paul's suggestion, I mean, I never thought about it, yeah, I mean, your guys are gonna have the most pulse of who's just been out there for a month and a half.
Right.
So, I mean, I get it, but yeah, the badge has a little bit more weight, I think.
Well, it's just a difference of what authority they have. So why don't we do this? Let me take a look at what Attorney Russell prepared. I'll look to make edits to it, and then make some suggestions. And then it's still good for the village board to decide how you want to handle it, okay?
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, brings us down to the banners. Any comment on that? I know Paul and I thought everything was set when they had the meeting last year with everybody, and they said how they were gonna do things, and now we're hearing a little bit different.
What are you hearing different?
Well, Mr. Fenn was here a few months back. Originally, it was my understanding that we were gonna put a couple of our DPW guys, and they were gonna work with the Legion, and they were gonna work with the county and put them up. Nobody contacted us this past summer, and next thing we know, they were going up, and we don't even know who put them up.
So there's a communication breakdown.
Have you talked to Brian Fenn at all, Danny?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I haven't talked to them in a few weeks, but I saw the letter that was sent out, that the school sent out, and my concern is, I don't know that we ever saw a copy of that letter, or I would have hoped that maybe we could have reviewed it also. I discussed it briefly with Paul also, and I would like to see it worked out again and everything finalized in writing, so that I think it was Tim that just said there's no miscommunication. And I don't have a problem with working with Paul and the school to talk and get something concrete in writing. So moving forward, we know where we're at with the whole program, and that hasn't been done. And there's been a couple letters sent out that the school sent one out a couple years ago. Going back to the original minutes said we would take care of it from the Presbyterian Church to the light, the Y. So apparently at that time we thought we could do that. We probably should have asked more questions.
Right, that was, Danny, that was based on 12 banners. As you can see in that original letter that we never received. That was, our original intent was the 12 banners which we would take care of. I don't have a problem with working with the county and the school. I just think that the school needs to get in contact with us, all get together, sit down, brainstorm it, and figure out what we're gonna do.
Well, let's do that, and let's see if we can't work something up in writing. And I'd like to see this be a project of us and the county, because we've got flags that are going up that aren't even people that live in the village. And I don't have a problem with that. I want to make sure that the people that have bought these flags, and from what I understand in talking with others, I haven't heard this, but there's more people that want it. Well, there's only so much we can do there. So when I'm better next week, I will talk with you. Well, you're going to be away. Now, the following week, I'll talk with you, and we'll try to arrange something and figure out who's going to be there, and make sure that from now on, when we communicate stuff, that the village and the school and whoever else is involved reviews it together, number one, and number two, again, let's have something concrete so that we know the rules that we're following. And I think that would solve a lot of the issues.
Dan, can you,
Yeah.
when you put this together, can you get Brian involved, and also maybe the advisor that works with the girls originally, or who the advisor is now?
The original advisor obviously is no longer there.
Right, no, I know.
Amy Byer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, get the new advisor, so.
And Mr. Finn, and well, the two girls are graduating, but they can be there. And Paul, myself, and whoever else, Mayor, you think you want to have there, as long as you don't have a quorum.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good point too, that Danny just said, that is, from my understanding, I talked to Amy Byer, I tried keeping people in the loop on that, and I'll just leave it at that, because I think she feels like sometimes if, say there's a meeting with X, Y, and Z, she feels like letter D, and I'll just leave it at that. I mean, I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but it's not necessarily all a village issue. I think there's some communication breakdowns on the whole realm of this whole thing, and she jumped into this project. So it's kind of exploded.
Right.
But they will be graduating, and my understanding from what I listened to Mr. Finn June, December, November, whenever, is I think this is a school group. It isn't just a school that he runs that's doing this. So I think with these two girls graduating, we can figure out what we're gonna do for 2023, but who knows what is gonna happen when they go, you know, so. And don't forget the National Grid deal for that.
Well,
So.
the other thing is, we probably should invite the Legion and Paul. I don't know I think Mr. Hunt from the county probably should be there. And so that we can hash this all out and make the final decisions.
Yep.
Well, he'd be in charge of the bucket truck, so.
Yes. Yes. All right. I will try and get something going when Paul gets back from his vacation next week.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, general code update. That's been done. I'm not sure if everybody's got their copies to put in their books or not, but.
Yep, everyone should have their copies in their folders or mailboxes or whatever you want to consider them in my office.
So we will be doing that twice a year now, or yearly, or how many?
I think we're just gonna reevaluate as we pass laws. Cause depending on if we do, the garage sale, the RV, we've already passed a couple, the conferencing law, I mean, that's 4 or 5 right there. Cause I think they picked up most of 2022, I don't know if they got anything that was passed in December though, cause it wasn't filed with the state yet, so. The state's been kind of delayed in doing some of them. It's been taking them a little bit to get them up, but we can relook at it and see. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to process, so there's a lag in between that. But I can make it put it on the calendar for like June. You think that's a good time frame, and then we can do it again in December if needed.
So
I
basically,
mean, my understanding is it should be updated as soon as they can, you know what I'm saying? For several reasons, really.
Well, I know they update them, they put them on our website, like under the new ones, but I know when they go to like incorporate them, like into the actual like code and not just leave them as like supplemental pages, it's a 6 to 8 week turnaround. So they can't do it every time a new law comes out, but, I mean, they could, it's just gonna charge us a lot more
So
money.
when you
but-
send a new law out, they do put a supplement in the.
Yeah, it's
online.
listed online, once it's posted, yeah. So, she told me what I can do to speed it up, instead of waiting for the state, is I can just email general code that we passed the law, and then they can get it right up, and then they'll just wait kind of for confirmation from the state. Because like I said, the state's been delayed probably about 2 months in processing them, so.
For some reason, the state's been behind lately.
So, I mean, we can do it that way, because they are up, it's just they don't get put into like the actual book itself until we do the whole update process.
But we can actually take this off our agenda for now because it's been done, so.
You can, probably should be brought back up in a couple of meetings, all right?
Yep, I'll make a note to bring it up in June. This way we can see how many laws we have at that point.
All right, RVs and camping trailers. Basically, all we have on that is just a
We have a copy of
copy
another
of
law.
Fairhaven's law, right?
Yeah, we have a copy of this other law.
And so basically, what we're looking for is to come up with one for the village, Lowville. And one thing,
Change the 7 days before.
we would change the 7 days to 14.
Okay.
I didn't know if any.
Section 110-4.
I'm just looking at it right now, I see that, okay? And that begs the question, penalties and enforcing it.
I think this is gonna have to be part of the zoning law. I think this should be part of the zoning.
Normally, this provision is a part of zoning.
Yeah, so therefore then it would be enforced, or the enforcement part of it would come through the codes and zoning offices. And this actually has wording in the bottom, the code enforcement officer for the village is the designated agent to enforce this chapter.
See that?
I don't know how much wording would have to be changed, but I guess we're just looking to have you review this too.
Okay, I can take a look at
Yeah,
it.
Joe?
Yep.
Now, just so you know too, like with zoning, the real problem with zoning always is this. You try to make sure that you specify everything as well as you can, because if there's an ambiguity, if there's a vagueness question, then the way the law interprets it, it's in favor of the property owner against municipality, okay? So that's the starting point. So you want to make sure that what you adopt will work. And then keep in mind, there's nothing sacred about it. You can update it from time to time if you need to. The other thing though is with zoning, what normally happens is there's a penalty provision that would expose a person to a fine. And you gotta make sure that you keep it below the misdemeanor category, because you don't wanna run into those, because the individual gets a lot of due process opportunities that make it difficult for municipality to enforce. The other question with that is keep in mind, that the most you get is the ability to fine the person generally. And I've run into situations before where that doesn't work sometimes. And a justice court can't technically order a property to be cleaned up or order a camper to be removed or something like that. They can't technically, they haven't got equitable jurisdiction. So it's typically only a fine. So you might want to keep open the opportunity for civil enforcement if you need to. That's just from a general standpoint, where if you have to do it, you can go a different route. Not advocating for that, but I'll take a look at it and make a recommendation.
Okay, any other public comment on local law on video conferencing? If not, we need a motion to close that public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we want to go ahead and draft and adopt that local law?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the local law, video conferencing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everything you need on that, Danielle, to send
Yep,
out?
we are all set.
So you'll file that with the state then?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, because you gave me all of the regular stuff. I don't think you have to, the way you have it written is, I don't think you have to sign off on it, right?
No,
Yeah.
no, the new requirements don't require the lawyer to sign off on it.
Okay, yeah, so I'll get that up tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I'll just send you a copy of it so you have it.
Yep, that'd be perfect.
See, Paul, you thought you were all done with Zoom, didn't you?
Should have took AV in my
Staying up
school.
with the rabbit ears and.
New business, craft surcharges, for January, 0 on the water. So you know what to do up there. Daniel, did you have some general fund budget in there?
Yeah, there's just one for, dog control. There's a specific line item now that I'm putting in the budget. So it's just moving some funds around just to cover that. That was kind of decided after we did the original budget, so. I think we paid our first voucher, which is included in general fund. It was around, I think, $17.43 or something per quarter. So I just estimated it for the rest of this fiscal year, and then obviously for next year's budget, I'll have the full year of what it'll be.
And as far as I know, that's working out fine with going in with the town. That's just our share. So we need a motion to let Danielle make that budget amendment.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Yeah, I'll
All in
second it.
favor?
Aye.
All right, everybody get a copy of their Powers and Company on the audit? Nobody has any questions on that? We'll need a motion to accept that audit.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This year will be the last year with any court stuff for the audit too, now that's officially done. So there won't be anything going forward next year for that.
But we did have to audit them this year because of
Yeah, because it ended in
being
March.
partial year. Okay, correspondence, we got Rico's February newsletter. Any questions on that? Do you have anything special you want to say on that, Mickey?
I was just gonna mention about, again, the local government conference is coming up, the registration for that. And then I was gonna mention that the Ray Cog Economic Visioning Summit will be on April 27th. And that will be from 9 to noon down at the Howard G Technical Center. And a culinary class down there is gonna do the lunch afterwards. And so we're actually hoping to have a draft schedule out to Ray Cog shortly on that for speakers and stuff. And digital radar signs, we did find some potential funding related to that through the Governor's Traffic Safety Council. So we're having a meeting on next Friday with them to discuss options on that, to help fund those digital radar signs potentially. So, and we have our Fort Drum intern who started only about 2 weeks ago, and he's kind of running with that project too, and he's doing a great job. And the promotional video is done. That was done with CGI, and so that video link should be sent with all the intros on there and stuff shortly. So you should be seeing something soon from that. And we already touched upon the LED lighting, so other than that, that's what I have, unless you have any questions, except for, I just mentioned the New York class webinar. We did record that New York class did related to the financing things, and that's available for people to see. And then there's a knowledge transfer webinar on February 28th, and that's with the Syracuse Center of Excellence. So that's about succession planning, people transitioning out of their positions, about how to retain that information after they leave. And that's something like we started doing in our office, you know, any passwords, usernames we have to access certain things that might be needed for somebody else who comes in and that type of stuff. So that's what I got. See any questions?
Okay, and there's a, should be a copy of the historian's report for 2022 for everybody. Questions on that? Officers and committee reports. Mr. Burrows, do you have anything?
No, the only thing I would ask is, at the end of the meeting, an opportunity to do an executive session to discuss personnel matters. That's all I have.
Mayor, I have three things here. One, I don't know if anybody had noticed this week, National Grid trucks downtown. They're actually installing our new outlets for the new Christmas lights that we're going to have up next year. That's actually moved forward quicker. I thought it was going to be done this summer, and they're actually getting it done for us now.
New old Christmas lights.
Yeah. The refurbished Christmas lights that our DPW refurbished for us. And you'll probably see later this week, you may see Spectrum trucks down on South State Street and Utica Boulevard. They're going to be installing Wi-Fi hotspot locations. So, and eventually there'll be signs up that'll note, so you can turn your Wi-Fi off to home and go uptown and sit in your car.
Don't have to go to McDonald's anymore?
So that will be happening later on this week. They're supposed to start tomorrow, but we'll see. Another thing to make the board aware of that probably will be coming down, Key Bank would like to put an awning where their ATM is on that side of the building. And right now it's not allowed in that zone, so there might have to be a zoning change right there. It's real simple to do because it butts right on to the VC zone, and that's basically where the Key Bank building is, would have to be changed to like VC zone. And I'm just giving you a heads up because they have to apply to planning and zoning for that. And once they apply, then it has to come back to the board, and we can need to prove if we want to make that zone change or not.
Do you need to make a zone change, or would you just do a variance?
The way for this particular, because the way the buildings are located, I'm getting this from our
From the zone?
gallant from the planning department. So that'll be coming down if they decide to move forward with the project. Well, I guess that's all I have at the moment. Clerk Treasurer, you have anything?
No.
Chief of Police, anything?
Nope.
Superintendent?
Nope.
Surprise. Capital future planning.
That's
Pass.
Personnel, anything there? Finance?
Chuck was nice enough to step in for me when I was healing my ribs. Where did you get, how far did you get, Chuck? Through January?
I think through December, yeah.
Through December, so January I'll do. Okay. So I'm just reporting on this.
Lason's Fire Department.
I have nothing. I would like to mention, I haven't had a chance, Mayor, we still do not have any nominations for Citizen of the Year Award. Is Joe Austin there?
Yeah,
Yes.
Joe, do you have anything?
no, I'm all good.
You don't have anything?
We didn't mess you at the meeting last month, Danny, either.
I know I'm getting good at that.
Last month, we talked a little bit about the governor within New York State making changes on the fire department exemptions. And at that time, I was informed by our assessor that where we did exemptions to like senior citizens and everything in November, the fire department was concluded that we didn't have to make any changes. She informed me today that they found out last Wednesday that that will be going away, and we will have to do a resolution to allow the fire department members to get their exemption. But she said we have until this summer to get that done. Is that right, Joe?
No, I'm not familiar with that, the conversation we had. So what happens is this. In New York State, they recognize it's difficult sometimes to get firefighters and persons working with ambulances. It's difficult to get volunteers. So as an incentive, there's already a state tax credit, I believe, of $200 for volunteer firefighters. But what the state is doing is saying, look, if you wish, villages, towns, counties, and schools can all adopt either a resolution or a local law for our purposes to allow a partial exemption of up to 10% of the assessed value of residential property in the community. So if you wished, you could do it by resolution, but it would require a public hearing first, or a local law with a public hearing first. And if you did it, it would be an exemption of up to 10%, sliding scale. There's a service requirement of at least 2 years. So there's a lot of work that the fire department has to go in and say, okay, who has got active service, qualified service for at least 2 years, up to 5 years. That's when they become eligible for it, and then could get that exemption on their taxes. But understand, the most you could do is if you went forward with it, and you can't do it now because from a technical standpoint, at the town level, the tax status date is March 1. Everything would have to be in place by March 1st. You couldn't possibly do it. None of the towns and villages are doing it yet. But if you did it, it would only address the village component of real estate taxes. The town could do it for the town tax, the county could do it for county taxes, school by resolution could do it for school taxes. So it could altogether be helpful. Now the practical problem that I'm hearing though is that the typical benefit that a firefighter might receive is usually not more advantageous than the $200 tax credit they get. And so right now, generally speaking, people are going to say, well, it's great for the state to do this, but we're not interested in it yet. Then there's also talk that New York State is going to increase the state tax credit to $500, but that's still up in the air. So I guess the long and short of it is if you wanted to, there's nothing you could really do right now that would be effective for March 1st. Everybody's looking at doing it to be effective for next year. And the safest thing really is a local law, though some people are doing it by resolution. But when the time comes, I can give you guidance. But a lot of this has got to be sorted out by the state first.
I'm going to say wait and see what the state ends up doing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up because we discussed it a little bit at the last meeting, and then I was informed this week it changed. Planning board, zoning board, anything there?
This board met earlier in the month, but I believe, I haven't got anything from Kathy, but I believe the meeting was the 22nd. Am I right, Henry?
Yes.
That's what I thought I read. Okay. Nothing else?
Municipal board, they haven't had a couple meetings. They haven't had anything on the agenda for the last 2 meetings, right? In town, they meet tomorrow. Do you have anything before that?
No, I didn't.
County, got anything, Dan?
We're going to invoice the county, and they're going to give us $500 stipend for music in the park. And I've been able to raise some other funds for music in the park, so it's looking pretty good. That's all.
Recreation, what I have on that is I sent an email to Mike Young, I know Bob Mullins called him. to try and get a meeting set up with the county and the school and Danny Myers to see how we're gonna fund our summer rec program this year and what we might have for summer rec program. And Mike is supposed to set that meeting up and said he would get back to Bob and myself. So that's where I am with recreation. Do you have anything, Ed?
I got email correspondence from Mike basically saying the same thing. He was getting hold of all the stakeholders and going from there, so. No, I can't think of anything else.
Okay, Racco, I think we've already covered that. Brings us down to public comment. Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. I'm glad Joe was here tonight. Going through Copenhagen the other day after the structure fire they had, and again yesterday, and I'm looking at Copenhagen's hydrants, and I see they have 5-inch adapters on them. And the reason I bring it up is it's the way Lowville Fire Department has to operate right now to hook their 5-inch line onto a hydrant is a process that requires really 2 men. You're not going through an easy step like take the cap off, snap your hose in, and you can open up your water supply. Lowville goes through a process of hooking up a gated Y, then getting the adapter onto it, the hose to go to the 2.5 to go to their 5-inch. So it's a process. It's a heavy, cumbersome process for one man to try to do with Joe, and of course Joe's the chief, he don't do that anymore, but Paul knows. I can throw that in. But it's a cumbersome process, it costs time. And my thinking is, I know the cost of it with the hydrants we have here in the village. Other than having to do them all at once, is to pick out like the primary streets to start with, like State Street. That's our heaviest industry, our shop, downtown centers, churches, the hospital is all on State Street. Your secondary streets, you could do, for instance, like Shady. Shady, you have some high fire protection there with the blocks that we have there on Shady Ave. Not do it all at once, but at least start with our main street where our heaviest fire protection is with the industry and the businesses we have. I know it's gonna cost money. I know we've talked about it in the fire department before, but it's something that after watching structure fires that we've had here in the village and trying to get hooked up to the hydrant and get our water supply takes time. And I would like to see the village at least look at starting out, getting at least State Street done. And then working with the fire department on the other streets within the village. And if we did like State Street and then did one side street, and then the next year work on picking up 2 other side streets, or East State Street to do that one. But I think it's something that we ought to do. If Copenhagen can be progressive, I think Lowville ought to be able to do the same. That's the first thing. The second thing is talking to people about our upcoming village elections. And I understand that our incumbents have people that are running against them. And people don't know these people. They might know the name to a little bit, but don't know the people. And Nick, would you like to be a moderator if a meet the candidates night could be set up for the village?
Sure.
Yep. He's shaking his head, yes. Nothing rattling.
We plan to invite, I think in the article we wrote yesterday, we plan to invite each of the 4 candidates, 2 for mayor, 2 for trustee, in for a sit down. But if you want to have a candidates night, that would be something we would be interested in as well.
Yeah, from talking to people, they don't, like, I don't know who was running against you, Tim. I have no idea.
I mean, we can't make people participate, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, if we do it for the county elections, why can't we do it for a village election where we have people running against the incumbents? And I don't think it's gotta be a big deal, we could do it right here.
But Nick has done it in the past. Did it 4 years ago.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't catch that on the video link, so on their computers or whatever. I know that I've gone to the ones with the county and sat there and listened to people, and I'd like to hear what these people think that they'd like to do for the village, with, as well as what's going on with the incumbents here, what they want to do, what their plans are in the future. And I think for one thing, it would get people out to vote, if we actually do something to try to get people interested in voting here in the village elections. And the date could be worked out, I don't think it would be too awful difficult to get a date set up. Yeah. And that's all I have.
Any other public comment? I guess we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Do you expect any action after your executive session? Do you expect any action after your executive session?
I don't use